Hey everyone, this is Dr. Fields here. Today I'm talking about stages of motivation, or the stages of change model, which was developed by Prochaska and DiClemente. So the stages of change are really, really important to know about. We know them as psychologists because it helps us assess what level of motivation our clients or patients are in. And so therefore we can tailor our therapy appropriately. Like, for example, if I'm working with a patient who is not really so ready to make a change, then by me prescribing to them an action plan where they need to do this, and that is fruitless, right? Because they're not ready to do anything right now. They're still kind of trying to psych themselves up, for lack of a better way of saying it. And I think the stages of change model is really equally as important for you all to know so that you can identify what stage you're in. Now, I put a video out about this a while ago. However, this video is going to focus on strategies for each stage. Okay, so the first stage is called the pre-contemplative stage. And basically, what that stage is all about is you are not thinking about change. You're not ready for change. You're not considering change. You're, oblivious to even thinking you need to do something about your behavior, pretty much. If you are in that stage and you happened by chance to find this video, maybe out of curiosity, then this is the strategy. Hopefully, this video will lead you to watch other videos of mine, and then you will start identifying or relating to these videos and saying, hey, you know what? Maybe I should change this behavior. Maybe I should address being overweight. Maybe I should actually do something about this now, because this guy is talking about some real strategies and they seem practical and they seem like something I might be able to do. This might be food for thought. And if my videos get you to that point, you are now in what we call the contemplative stage of change. And what that means is that you are contemplating change. You're thinking to yourself like, yeah, I think this might be a good idea. I think this is something I really should look at. I really have wanted for a long time to lose weight. I don't know how ready I am to do that right now, or I don't know how to go about it, but this might be something that I really need to take a look at. Now, if you're in this stage of change, what you want to do is you want to write out a super brutally honest pros and cons list. And what I mean by brutally honest is we don't want this kind of pros and cons list where you're basically writing down all these pros, all these positive reasons to lose the weight, and there are no cons, right? Because if that's reality, then you would have already done something about your weight, unless you truly have no idea how to go about this, and that's, something else. But chances are most people have a pretty general idea of how to lose weight, so that if you have a pros and cons list and there's no cons and it's all like, yeah, I want to lose weight because I want to get healthy and I want to be more active with my kids and I want to live longer and I want to feel better about myself and look better in the mirror and this and that, and there's no cons, but you haven't done anything for like months or even years, then clearly you haven't identified the cons. And what I talked about in the past with this kind of situation is the cons quite simply can be, I don't know if I can cope with life without, this extra eating that I do, or without relying on food, or I feel like I'm going to be too uncomfortable, or I feel like it's going to be too hard. And those are the possible cons that you might have on that list. So develop a pros and cons list, and then really take a look at it and really try to determine whether or not the pros truly do outweigh the cons, not just in the number of them, but in terms of the quality of them, right? In terms of, how important they are. Like, is living longer more important than being uncomfortable? And then also trying to evaluate them as objectively as possible. How uncomfortable are you really going to be on a weight loss plan? I've talked about this in past videos. You don't need to be very, that uncomfortable at all on a weight loss plan, especially if it's designed the right way. So that's the strategy that you would do as a contemplator, okay? Once you get to the third stage, that is the mental preparation stage. This is when you've made up your mind, the pros outweigh the cons, and you want to lose weight. At this stage, which go you're going to now want to write out a plan, an eating plan and an exercise plan. How many calories are you going to be shooting for each day? You can go online and find those calorie counters to find out about how many calories it takes to maintain your current weight. And then from there, you can subtract a number of calories to put yourself in a deficit, depending on how aggressive the deficit. I would say 1 pound of weight loss a week is a great goal. So, and if it's easy, then you can always up it, right? So start with a pound of weight a week. That's 3,500 calories a week that you want to get rid of, 500 calories a day. Write out what kind of foods you're going to be eating. Try to find out and research the calories for those foods, and try to, approximate pretty closely, that goal in terms of the calories that you want to hit each day. And then come up with some kind of exercise program that you think you can stick with. You might say, hey, I want to exercise 7 days a week, an hour a day. But again, we want something reasonable. You can always increase the frequency or the duration of the exercise program at a later time. Try to start with things that are reasonable. A moderate calorie deficit in terms of the weight loss plan, and then a moderate kind of exercise program where maybe you start off with 3 days a week, maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes of some kind of exercise each day, okay? Or each day you work out. So that's the preparation phase. When you are actually ready to do the plan and you start doing it, you are now in the action phase. And the action phase or stage is you are now putting into motion this plan that you created, and you're doing it. It doesn't mean you're doing it 100% perfectly, but you are doing it. And during this time, you may find that you need to tweak certain things, like maybe your caloric deficit is too aggressive. Maybe your exercise program is a little bit too idealistic. Or maybe it's easy and you're like, hey, I was shooting for 3 days of exercise a week. I can do 5. Or this deficit doesn't feel like much. I can cut out a few hundred more calories every day. And then you're going to tweak it at this phase. I should also say in the mental preparation phase, that would also include what we call false starts, where you go to try to do this plan, and you do it for 1 day, and then the next day you say the hell with it, right? You're still in the mental preparation phase. The action phase is when you're doing it consistently, and maybe like 1 or 2 days you're not following it perfectly, but for the most part you're following it pretty closely, at least maybe 90% of the time, right? And then after that, after you lose the weight and you're doing great, or after you've lost a good amount of weight and you've been really consistent on this weight loss plan, you've tweaked it, you've got it to a point where it really works, it's a plan you can live with, and you're doing this for like at least a month or maybe a couple months, and it's going really, really well, you're going to then start to phase into the maintenance stage. And that is exactly what it sounds like. You're maintaining exactly what you're doing. So a little bit different than weight loss maintenance stage, which is you lost all the weight and now you're maintaining that loss. This maintenance stage has to do more with your motivation and psychology in terms of you found a program that works and you're maintaining it consistently. So you want to be in the action phase for at least a month or so, maybe a couple months before you can really start to consider yourself being in the maintenance stage. This is Dr. Fields. It's something to think about. Hopefully you'll be able to identify what stage of change you're in and what strategies and now you know what strategies you need to use depending on that stage. And I hope that this is really helpful for you. I'll talk to you soon.